Hey, good morning to those of you who have already joined our Zoom session. It's a little bit before 10 a.m., so we're going to wait a few minutes before we get started. Happy holidays to everybody. So we'll give everybody a few more minutes to log in and we'll get going. By the way, too, I'll remind everybody, feel free to send us questions that might be on your mind, and we'll get to them as timely as we can once we get through the seminar. I'll leave plenty of room to discuss anything that might be on your mind, particularly related to some of these unusual transactions. All right. Well, I think we've given everybody a chance to get in, and I know there'll be a few people who will be joining us as the seminar progresses. So once again, thank you all for joining us here. We hope that this is informative. Gives you some ideas that we can do virtually any type of real estate if it meets our primary conditions, which is largely going to be loan to value and the purpose of a loan. So let's begin with a little bit about us. Um, this is a little overview of what we'll talk about today, and we'll go from there. So first, a little bit about us. We got to move to our next slide here. And uh, we've been a private money lender since 1975 when we were founded. So we are actually 50 years old, which is unusual in private money. I've been the broker here since 1986. I'll be hitting my 40th anniversary next April 1st of 2026. We set ourselves aside from many of the other private money lenders you may have worked with. One of the key elements is we use our own money to fund these loans. We're not reliant upon private investors, which can oftentimes cause delays and even cancellations in transactions if your private money source is unable to raise those funds. All of the underwriting is done in-house. I do virtually all the underwriting. I have a partner who's the president of the company. He assists on some of those transactions when I'm unavailable, but we use one person for pricing. You don't have to worry about a committee. So when your loan is approved, you're going to know that your loan is approved. You're going to get consistent pricing, and you're not going to have to worry about a committee down the road changing their mind. The types of loans that we do. The majority of our loans, again, are used for business or investment purposes. That can be buying a property for investment purposes. Investment purposes is a wide gamut of purposes. Virtually anything from starting a business to buying inventory for a business, um, uh, buying office equipment, you name it. If it's anything related to a business transaction or it's related to an investment transaction, that's something we can likely help with. We don't just do first trust deeds or first mortgages. We also do subordinate liens, oftentimes called junior liens. And that can be a second or third. And even on occasion, we've even done fourth trust deeds or mortgages when the equity allows us to do so. Unlike some private money lenders out there, we are happy to make a loan secured by an owner-occupied property. The key element is that the majority of the money is being used for a business purpose. And the way we define that is at least 51% of the loan amount is being used for a business purpose. So for instance, if a borrower wants to take $100,000 second out on their primary residence, but 51,000 is being used for their business or investment purpose, the remainder may be used for consumer purposes, and you still met our requirements. Um, Owner-occupied purchases can be a little tricky because typically that's not a business or investment purpose. However, if our borrower is not a consumer, if our borrower is an LLC or a corporation, and it has to be an existing LLC or corporation, we can accommodate you with that. There are many of self-employed people who run their businesses through an LLC or corporation. So if they can take title to a property that is likely to be their primary residence, there's still a good chance we can help you. So when you come across those circumstances where private money is best suited for your client on a purchase, you can ask them whether or not they can take title in an existing LLC or corporation. And if they can, please think of us. We can help you with that. All of our loans are stated income, stated asset. That's a tremendous benefit to your clients, particularly people who are self-employed. We never require W-2s, bank statements, or tax returns to verify their income or their assets. We don't have any reserve requirements, so that's not a condition either. We don't have any DTI requirements, and on your investment properties, we don't have any DSCR requirements. We're going to look at your loan application. So what the borrower states their income and assets are is what we're going to rely upon. Now, for some of you out there, that doesn't mean that you don't put the income or the assets on the loan application. You still state it, but like it shows on our slider here, it's stated. We're not verifying it. We don't have any credit score minimum requirements. So no matter how low your score is, that we may be able to still help your client. In fact, many of our clients, because we make a lot of loans to foreign nationals, don't even have a credit score. So don't let that stop you from sending the loan our way. On this particular slide, again, we can close on short sale and REO transactions that need immediate funding. We do get calls from time to time from panic brokers and real estate agents where their purchase has just about fallen out or their financing has fallen out and they need something quick to save their borrowers or their buyer's deposit and to get an escrow closed. We're here for that purpose. We can close our transactions typically in 5 to 10 business days. Okay, so where do we lend? And what kind of loans do we lend? Right now, we're lending in 9 different states. I expect in 2026 we'll be expanding that, but as of today, here are the 9 states we lend in. You can see across the board, if you go from left to right, we lend on all types of properties in the 9 states that we lend in. The second column tells you whether or not you're required to have a license or not to work with us. In some states you are, in others you're not even required to have a license. The third column tells you whether or not we will loan on owner-occupied, which is in most states. A few states we don't. That would be Colorado, Texas, and Washington. But all the other states we can still loan on owner-occupied properties. The fourth column down tells you whether we do a second trust deed or, in some cases, a third or even a fourth trust deed or mortgage. We are not able to originate those in Oklahoma, Texas, or Washington, or Florida, pardon me. So we can originate in 5 of the 9 states. And then below that is the maximum loan to value that we are currently keeping ourselves at. And you can see what that is in the 9 states that we lend in. Look at the little note below that regarding commercial loans in Florida. If we do a commercial loan in Florida, we are unable to originate those loans to individuals. It must be held in the name of a corporation or an LLC. Okay, other products we offer. As I mentioned, we offer first, second, third position loans, in some cases even a fourth. We do purchase money loans. Cross collateral. On occasion, we come to a request for cash out on a property and we can't get the amount necessary for the borrower to meet their particular needs. We can look at other properties they own. So if you have a borrower and we can't get them the loan to value, please be sure to ask if they own any other properties. Sometimes that's something they don't volunteer right away. But when you ask the question, you'd be surprised how many borrowers may say, oh yeah, I own another property and here are the details. We do refinance, rate and term loans, cash out loans, true bridge loans. A true bridge loan is when your client is actually selling their existing property and needs cash now to close on a new purchase. That is the one consumer purpose loan that we do originate. So if you've got a consumer who's trying to sell their home and wants to buy another property but can't get the proceeds from their current residence to close on the new purchase because it hasn't sold yet, that is the one consumer purpose loan you can send to us, and we're happy to do those. Refinance cash out again. Loans to foreign nationals, that's a big part of our business. Don't worry about that. As long as they can provide the notary the appropriate passport to provide their identity, we don't have any restrictions on loaning to foreign nationals. We loan on mobile manufactured homes. We loan on properties that are in probate. In probate, you just need to be able to get the permission of the courts to be able to get that loan closed. The same with loans in bankruptcy. I do see loans on a regular basis in bankruptcy, and the loan that we're going to originate is going to assist them in getting out of bankruptcy. So again, don't let that stop you from sending the loan our way. And then on our last little sentence there, we loan on virtually every type of real estate, residential, commercial, industrial land, and multi-unit properties. We even make loans on property that may be subject to ground leases from time to time. How do you get paid? That's a very important part. That's what we're all in business. We all want to make money. All of our fees are disclosed on the closing statement. So generally speaking, how it's going to look, we are going to quote a loan origination fee. I don't know what your fees may be. We have very few restrictions. The primary restriction is that your fees don't exceed ours. Your fees will show up as broker fees, but because our loans are not subject to TRID, and they're typically not subject to RESPA or Truth in Lending, you can negotiate whatever fees you like, and they will be disclosed as a broker fee on the borrower's closing statement. And I just talked the second bullet point, your broker fees are listed on the docs, and you'll be paid by Val-Chris Investments, or most commonly, you'll be paid by escrow when the loan closes. You never have to guess what you're going to be paid because we put it in writing for you up front. In fact, I insist on putting all of my pricing in writing, so there's never any confusion. Even when I'm providing an initial quote, I'll always ask you to send me some details on the loan so that I can provide you pricing in writing that you can rely upon. What do we typically charge? Our loan origination fees generally range from 1 to 3 points. 2.5 to 3 points is probably most common. You can buy those fees down typically with a shorter term or possibly with a higher rate or a longer prepayment period. We typically have two other fees, which include an underwriting fee and a document fee. Underwriting fee is typically $895 to $995. The document fee ranges from $1,395 to about $2,095, depending on the loan size and whether it's a commercial loan or a residential loan. How long does it take to close a loan? Well, our loans typically close in 10 business days, but I start counting that business day when you actually submit your package to us. We will provide you a submission package that is very simple, very few disclosures. We have a simplified loan application, but when you tell us you believe your borrower is ready to accept our terms, we'll send that to you immediately. And as soon as you can get that back to us, we'll start getting your loan processed and closed as quickly as possible. As a broker, you'll be the liaison between us and your borrower. We don't speak to your borrower. We expect you to handle that. You're their agent. You're being paid to do that. We will not be contacting your borrower. We typically make one contact to your borrower, and that is typically the day or the day before funding, just to verify we have their email correct, we have their phone number correct, we have their mailing address correct, and that they don't have any questions and that they've received a copy of their loan documents. We protect our brokers. Once you've submitted a file, we're not going to allow your borrower to go around us. So you don't have to worry about disclosing to your borrower who your lender is going to be. We don't allow borrowers to come to us once the broker submitted that package. What's been one of the keys to our success and our longevity is that we're honest. We provide competitive pricing. We tell you what the loan is going to be, and it's something you can rely upon, which is why it's important for me to put it in writing. And if you believe our pricing needs to be a bit more competitive, we'll do our best. You can let me know. Always ask me if you think our pricing needs to be more competitive before you cancel. You never know, I can sharpen my pencil and possibly do better. Years of experience. Once again, we're one of the oldest private money lenders in California. We've been around since 1975. I've been here since 1986, and we expect to be here for many years to come. Now let's get to the types of properties we shared with you in our broker seminar invitation. And we brought these up just because we wanted to let you know we just don't do the cookie cutter single family residence or condominium first trust deed, low loan to value. We can do unique properties. We can do different loan sizes. We can do different locations. We can do almost any kind of real estate that makes sense. Our objective is not to acquire properties. Our objective is to collect payments, and our objective is to help your borrowers meet the financial needs that they need, um, with the long-term objective of providing them with a short-term solution that allows you down the road to be able to refinance them. So here's an example that we did very recently on a church. This again, churches are very difficult properties to do. We will typically do these at lower loan to values. In this particular case, the church needed about 800,000. You can, this particular church wanted the money to provide additional entitlements and development expenses for one of the projects they were using to expand the church. The loan made sense to us. The church appraised at over 1.9 million. So our loan to value was in the low 40s. Um, they were unable to get the financing through conventional sources because they didn't have the financial documentation that was required. We got the loan closed. We provided them a 3-year loan with payments of interest only, no prepayment penalty after 6 months, with the objective that they would finish the project that they were building out and would either get a takeout loan on that or get their financial books in order and look at getting a conventional or a non-QM loan for their church down the road. So let me get to the second example for you. Mixed use properties. And by the way, we don't just do mixed use properties on commercial industrial. We also offer mixed use properties on residential properties. And while I'm speaking about that, um, we've seen many loans too when a loan is turned down at the last minute because the property has some deficiencies. Maybe it's missing cabinets in the kitchen. Maybe it's missing, something else is not up to code. It may have some code violations. Don't let that stop you from sending it our way. But getting back to this example, this was a property in Anaheim, California. They had a very good first on the property at a very good rate through an institutional bank of approximately 440,000. They didn't want to touch that because the rate was very favorable, but they needed an additional $150,000 to expand their practice. This particular borrower owned this particular condominium in an industrial mixed-use property, ran his law business out of that. He was an attorney, but he needed some money to expand his business. So we provided him with a short-term second trust deed of 150,000 for 2 years. It was interest-only payments, again with no prepayment penalty after 6 months, with the objective that this would meet his short-term needs, and he would either pay the loan off through his own business expansion, business cash flow, or if he had to down the road, he would look for a more permanent solution. But this provided him 2 years to meet those particular needs and objectives. Third example, this was an unusual one, and this example can fit in a couple of cases. We had here an unusual case where a borrower came to us and they were looking to buy a property, and they had a seller who was willing to carry back a second on the property. They just needed a first trust deed on this. So while the combined loan to value would be far in excess of our maximum loan to value of 65%, the fact that the seller was willing to carry back a $220,000 second trust deed, we were happy to provide him a first trust deed for approximately 65% of the purchase price. Now, I want you to keep this in mind because there may be cases where you have a purchase loan and your buyer can't come up with the 35% that we would typically require. And this was the case in this circumstance. They didn't have the 35% to put down. So we loaned them the necessary 65% approximate. They got the seller to carry back a $220,000 second. And then they came in with a small amount of cash to close out the purchase, which was $737,000. So in this case, they got a first of 476. They got a second of 220,000, which equals 696,000. They only had to come up with 41,000 down plus closing costs. So they came up with a very small down payment. This particular home was also going to be owner occupied. They had an existing LLC that was operating, and they had been operating it for some time. So they bought the property in their existing LLC. We provided them first trustee. They got a second. And one other interesting twist to this particular one, their credit scores were 452 and 541. So the low credit score didn't stop us. We liked the property. We liked the location of the property, and it met our loan to value criteria. I want to mention on this particular transaction too, when we do purchases, we can also sometimes provide people with the ability to buy a property when they have a small down payment by cross-collateralizing other properties they may own, or possibly pulling out financing on another property they own, either as a new first or a second, to provide them the cash that they need to put down to buy that property. Um, so those are the three examples I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to get you thinking about other weird, odd circumstances that may not be your cookie cutter residential property so that you can keep us in mind with anything that might come up. Cecilia, what's next? I have an assistant back here. So yeah, so if you have any questions for me, if you have any scenarios you'd like to run by me, I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Um, just a quick aside, anytime you want to reach out to me, you've got my email address there. You've got our president's email out there. A very simple way to find out what I can do is just email me with a property address. Tell me whether it's a purchase or a refinance. Um, if it's going to be, tell me how much they want to borrow. Tell me what you believe the property's worth or what the property's being paid for, so we can get an idea as to what the loan to value will be. And if your borrower would prefer a second or a third, let us know what the existing loans are. That's all you need to email me. You don't need to send me a loan application or anything else. With that information, I can provide you some terms as to what the loan will be and give you an idea as to whether or not we can meet your borrower's objectives. So now, if you have any questions for me, I'm available to answer anything. Um, and if you don't have any questions, then Cecilia, do you see anything? I don't see any questions, so I'll give you another second. If not, I want to thank those of you who are here today. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year, and I hope that you'll continue to use Val-Chris Investments for your private money source lender for the rest of 2025 and for the upcoming 2026. As I mentioned, we do expect to expand into other states, so we look forward to working with you in the 9 states we're approved in now, and look forward to working with you more in 2026. So without any further ado, I want to wish you all a wonderful day and a wonderful holiday. Thank you very much.